So this is the Husqvarna Emerald 116. There's also a 118, which is the same setup, but it just has a few more stitches in here. So I already have it plugged in, so we're going to turn it on. There's a power switch over at the side here, which is going to flick that. Our light turns on, which is beautiful. Right now I actually have the foot and the needle down. It just helps with transport. So what I'm gonna do is there's a lever back here. So I'm gonna actually lift up this lever. That's the pressure foot lever. My pressure foot just came up and my needle's still in the machine. So I can actually roll my wheel here and it will bring that needle up and out for me. Awesome. So to get started, we are going to thread the machine. You'll do it a million times and we'll never have to watch this again, but to get started, it's super helpful. So right now in this bobbin case, you just pop off, bring that little button outwards. There's a little arrow that pops this open. It's nice and clear so you can see in it and gives you a little bit of a guide on how to wind it. I have a bobbin in here, but let's see how to wind our own. So I have a clear bobbin here, and up top we have some pink thread, and I'm going to wind just right off that pink reel and see if I can figure out how to show you what's going on up here. So my thread is here and it's nice and loose. So what we're going to do is I'm going to bring it over and we're going to put it through this wheel around the front first and then over the back. Gives it a little bit of tension, and my bobbing port is here. So what we can do is this little guy has a little hole on either side, doesn't matter. So we're going to thread through the hole. Let me just get that set up. There we go. So I have this thread through that top hole. I'm just going to pop my bobbin on. This thing should be to the left. I have a little bit of tension there. I am going to pop this wheel out. That means that I'm ready for bobbin winding and the machine won't sew. And I have my thread here. I can pop it over, and then all I have to do is press on my foot pedal and start winding. Once I have a little bit on here that this is no longer an issue, you actually want to cut this tail off. It's just a little bit better for the machine. So grabbing a pair of scissors here, you can hold this nice and tight. It's better with two hands, and just snip the excess so it's clean. It's just less things in your bobbin case. So that one there actually came out a little bit loose. I'm just going to continue winding that bobbin. It's going to go for a while, and it's going to tell you when it stops when it's essentially hit this wheel here. I just want to make sure that it's winding evenly. You don't have any loose threads. It's not top heavy. I'm getting a little bit to the end, so I'm going to slow down. And I've actually ran out of thread. So it didn't stop me, but it will stop you. Once you're done, you just pop that back, and then you can take it off. Okay. So when we actually go to put this in the machine, let's zoom in a little bit. So it shows me my angles here. So it doesn't really matter which way you do, but you want it essentially like a P. So the big part of the thread's here, and this is coming down. We're going to pop that P into the machine. There's a little divot in here, so we're going to make sure that thread gets in the divot. So we're going to make sure the thread's to the right, and then we're going to pull it around to the left, follow it around, and I usually just let it sit out at the side. This plate, I'm going to pop in the teeth in the left, and then pop it down. And now my bobbin is ready to go. I'm going to have to put on a different spool of thread. So let's talk about threading the actual machine itself. So I have another spool here. I'm just gonna pop on my rod here. I have the wrong size plate, but I don't really care right now. There is a smaller one that works a little bit better with these smaller spools. Grab my thread. Okay, now this threading will work a little bit different. So you're going to take it around this part that has the arrow on it, and we're essentially just going to follow the arrow up the back and around the front. And I'm going to pull this down all the way. Ooh. All the way through this front crack. There's another arrow in here. You can see it. Very faint over here, so I'm going to go down this part around the bottom, and this is where you may need to use your wheel because you want this little hook up at the top. So we're going to bring the thread to the right side of that hook and around the back of it, here, so then it actually sits in that little metal hook, and you got the other arrow there. Now it come back down. And we're gonna do some work right in here. So it's all the way through. I need to get it through this hook here. So I usually take 2 fingers and I just go one front, one back. It's kind of like flossing. We're gonna get it right through there, and then I can bring it around. And I need to do that before I thread the eye on my needle. This guy here is your needle threader. So just have your thread ready. Bring this down. There is a hook back there. It's a tiny, tiny hook, and it's going to pop through your eye. So this is the other thing. If the needle isn't in the right position, that hook isn't going to fit through the eye properly. I'm going to bring it around so then it catches on this little tag over here. Usually use my thumb, make sure it gets on. You're going to put it underneath this other hook on this side. And when you do that and you bring it nice and close to the needle, it catches that little hook. Now all you have to do is let it go. You can actually see in here that the thread is on the hook and it's come through the eye. So all we got to do is make sure it comes off of that hook because it can be a little bit sticky. And thread it all the way through. And I just pull it a little bit to make sure I have a tail and that it's flowing properly. Then the good practice is to actually put it underneath your foot so then it's out the side and it's not loose. Now right now my bobbin is underneath and I don't have it picked up. So we're going to use this hand wheel. I'm just going to come forward to bring the needle down. I like to hold my top thread. So I'm going to do one full rotation. You can actually see that blue thread through that bobbin case, picking up my bobbin. Once my needle is all the way up, I can pull this and it will bring my pink thread up. Sometimes you'll need tweezers. Tweezers are my favorite tool. You can also use just the blunt end of the scissors to bring that up and all the way through. Now I have single threads, 2 of them. I am ready to sew.